Love history? Subscribe and explore the stories that shaped our world.
More than 2.5 millennia ago, the land we now know as China was caught in the throes of a profound transformation. The once mighty Zhou Empire, which had maintained order through a strict patriarchal society, was experiencing a steady decline, and the central power of its emperor had become largely nominal. In place of central authority, local rulers began to rise, carving the realm into separate, fiercely competing states. This period witnessed the continuous and devastating conflicts that would characterize the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. The economic and social fabric of the realm was drastically shifting due to the widespread adoption of iron tools, which revolutionized agriculture and spurred the rapid growth of trade and specialized urban centers. As private land ownership emerged, the ancient patronymic clan communities began to disintegrate. The traditional aristocracy found itself fiercely competing for power with newly wealthy commoners and merchants. Furthermore, the very nature of warfare changed. The noble chariot duels of the past were replaced by massive armies composed of armed peasants, leading to unprecedented devastation and the exhaustion of the common people. The crumbling of ancient familial traditions, relentless infighting, and the rampant corruption of officials created a deep moral and spiritual crisis. Amidst this chaos, a new social class arose, the Shi, or wandering scholars, who offered innovative ideas to rulers desperate for order. It was into this fractured and turbulent world that a child was born who would ultimately redefine the cultural DNA of the nation.
That child was born around 551 BC near the town of Qufu in what is today Shandong province. His real name was Confucius, meaning hill, and his courtesy name was Zhongni. According to ancient sources, this name referenced his birthplace in a cave within a sacred clay hill where his parents had made a pilgrimage. He descended from the noble Kong clan, tracing his lineage back to Wei Tzu, a loyal follower of a Zhou emperor. However, by the time of his birth, his family had lost its wealth and influence. Tragedy struck early. His father, a 63-year-old military man named Shuliang Ha, died when Confucius was only a year and a half old. Raised in poverty by his young mother, Yan Zhengzai, the boy grew up listening to stories of his ancestors' great deeds, which fueled his determination to reclaim his family's honorable place in society. Driven by this purpose, Confucius relentlessly pursued self-education, mastering the essential arts required of the aristocracy. As a young man, he worked humble jobs, serving as a granary manager and an overseer of livestock for the Ji clan in the state of Lu. By his early 20s, he was already married, had a son, and was beginning to earn a reputation as the first professional teacher in China. Yet, Confucius was not merely content to teach, he was a reformer at heart. Deeply distressed by the moral decay and corruption around him, he sought to actively influence state policy. Realizing the impossibility of achieving this in his native state, he resigned from his posts and embarked on a long journey across China. Accompanied by his loyal disciples, the wandering philosopher visited various rulers, hoping to find one who would implement his vision of a just government. Eventually, around the age of 60, he returned home. He spent his final years teaching and systematically compiling the literary heritage of the past, including the Book of Songs, Shi Jing, and the Spring and Autumn Annals, Chun Shu. Although he passed away in 479 BC without seeing his political dreams realized, he left behind a devoted following. Chinese scholars estimate he had around 3,000 students, including 70 close disciples, who would preserve his wisdom in the famous text known as the Analects, or Lun Yu. The teachings recorded by his students were not rooted in mystical theology, but in profound social philosophy and practical ethics. At the very heart of his doctrine was the vision of a harmonious society modeled after a grand, orderly family where every individual understands and fulfills their specific role. Let the ruler be a ruler, the minister a minister, the father a father, and the son a son. To achieve this, Confucius emphasized the cultivation of the Junzi, or the noble man. Unlike the Shaoren, or base person, who is driven purely by personal gain and partiality, the noble man is guided by inner virtue, spiritual culture, and a commitment to the greater good. This noble character is built upon 5 constants, or Wu Chang, which are the foundational virtues of a righteous person. The most vital of these is Ren, humanity or benevolence. It is the moral calling of compassion and empathy that distinguishes humans from beasts. Paired with it is Yi, righteousness or justice, representing the sense of duty that counters pure egoism. Then comes Li, ritual or propriety, the adherence to proper conduct, etiquette, and ancient customs that act as the social glue maintaining order. Confucius believed that through Li, people could be guided by moral example rather than the fear of harsh laws, which he viewed negatively. The final 2 constants are Ji, wisdom, the common sense to foresee the consequences of one's actions, and Sin, integrity, the integrity that prevents hypocrisy. A cornerstone of this ethical framework is Xiao, filial piety, the deep respect for one's parents and elders, which Confucius viewed as the root of all human virtue and the basis for societal harmony. From the family unit, this respect radiates outward to the state, where the ruler must govern through his own moral virtue, De, and serve as a guiding compass for his subjects. Furthermore, Confucius articulated a timeless principle that resonates across global cultures, famously stating the golden rule: do not do unto others what you do not want done to yourself.
Despite the brilliance of these ideas, Confucianism was initially just one of the many competing intellectual traditions during the vibrant era of the 100 schools of thought. Its path to supremacy was fraught with existential peril. During the Qin dynasty in the 3rd century BC, the state adopted the ruthless, pragmatic ideology of legalism, leading to a brutal suppression of Confucian scholars. Under Emperor Qin Shi Huang, 460 scholars were buried alive, and countless classical books were burned in a violent attempt to erase the tradition. However, the resilient philosophy survived this dark period. With the rise of the Han Dynasty, the fortunes of Confucianism dramatically reversed. Under Emperor Wu Di and the philosopher Dong Zhongshu, the teachings of Confucius were synthesized with cosmological ideas, such as the yin-yang and 5 elements theories, and officially elevated to the status of a state ideology. A monumental shift occurred when knowledge of the Confucian canon became the basis for the imperial examination system, known as Keju. For over 1,300 years, this rigorous testing system, which granted degrees like Shen Yuan, Juren, and Jin Shi, ensured that the state bureaucracy was staffed by scholars deeply versed in Confucian ethics, literature, and history. This embedded the philosopher's ideals into the very machinery of the Chinese Empire, promoting social mobility based on merit rather than mere aristocratic birth. As centuries passed, the doctrine continued to evolve. Thinkers like Mencius expanded on the master's work, emphasizing the innate goodness of human nature and introducing the mandate of heaven, which justified the rule of a monarch only as long as he remained virtuous and cared for his people. Conversely, Xunzi argued that human nature was inherently evil and required strict education and ritual to achieve order. Later, during the Song and Ming dynasties, the philosophy underwent a profound transformation known as Neo-Confucianism. Brilliant scholars such as Zhu Xi and Wang Yangming integrated elements of Taoism and Buddhism, expanding Confucian ethics into a comprehensive metaphysical system that explained the very fabric of the universe. This enriched doctrine became the orthodox philosophy not only in China, but also profoundly influenced the intellectual landscapes of Japan, Korea, and Vietnam.
The enduring power of Confucianism over more than 2.5 millennia is a testament to its profound alignment with the cultural spirit of the region. It provided a unifying national identity that allowed Chinese civilization to withstand internal rebellions and even culturally assimilate foreign conquerors. The tradition faced severe modern challenges, most notably during the mid-20th century. During the Cultural Revolution, Mao Zedong and the Red Guards actively sought to destroy China's traditional heritage, launching campaigns to criticize Lin Biao and Confucius, and denouncing the ancient sage as a symbol of feudal backwardness. Mao even attempted to replace Confucian wisdom with his own Little Red Book, aiming to forge an entirely new societal structure based on radical revolutionary principles. Yet the core values of the philosophy could not be permanently erased. In the post-1978 era, under leaders like Deng Xiaoping, Confucian concepts began to experience a powerful resurgence. Modern China's strategic initiatives heavily utilize classical terms. For instance, the pursuit of a Xiaokong translates to a moderately prosperous society, a direct echo of an ancient Confucian ideal. Similarly, the government's focus on building a harmonious society demonstrates that the ancient preferences for collective well-being, social stability, and mutual responsibility still guide the nation today. Beyond the borders of East Asia, the legacy of Confucius has left an indelible mark on global thought. As early as the 17th century, his teachings reached Western Europe, capturing the admiration of Enlightenment thinkers. Philosophers like Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz and Christian Wolff saw in Confucianism a rational, universal morality and praised its emphasis on practical wisdom. Today, through global educational initiatives like the Confucius Institutes, his name continues to represent Chinese culture and language to the world. From a humble, wandering teacher in a fractured ancient realm to the architect of a civilization's moral compass, Confucius proved that ideas rooted in humanity, education, and virtue possess an immortal strength. For 2,500 years, his voice has resonated through the corridors of history, offering a timeless reminder that true harmony begins with the cultivation of the self, extends to the family, and ultimately brings peace to the world.